I bet you know what animal this is, but do you know how it moves from place to place? Come with us today as we learn how animals move. Most animals need to move in order to catch the food that they eat. Animals that eat plants have to move to where those plants live. Animals that eat other animals have to get to where those animals are and catch them. Animals that live in or near the water need to be able to swim. Birds and insects and even some mammals need to be able to fly. Some animals can run and others can climb. Some animals move very quickly and others move at a very slow pace. Some animals can even swing from tree to tree. Today we're going to talk about how animals move. We'll see a lot of different animals and how they move around. But among the animals that are the most famous are the great apes. Those include gorillas and chimpanzees, orangutans, and gibbons. The white-cheeked gibbons live on Gibbon Island behind me. They are famous for their acrobatics. You can see them swinging back and forth in Africa where they come from tree to tree. They can go many miles without coming down on the ground. So by using their feet and their hands, they can grasp tree limbs and keep from being eaten by other animals. Many animals like mice and rabbits that have to stay on the ground have a hard time because other animals, cats or birds, can fly down and eat them. But in the case of the great apes, they can escape by getting up in the tops of trees. Another animal that's able to climb trees very well and is famous for his climbing ability is the Lowland gorilla. They are herbivores, which means they eat plants. In order to get up into trees, to get the leaves from plants, they use their hands and their feet, and they're some of the best climbers in the whole world. Another way that animals move is by crawling. Some animals, like snakes, don't have any hands or feet, and yet they're able to get around pretty well on the ground or even up in trees. A snake like this one, a boa constrictor from South America, does live up in trees. He's got to be able to crawl all the way up from the ground and crawl along well enough to catch things he eats, such as rats and mice. In order to do that, he uses the scales on his belly that are like platelets. They all go in the same direction, like on the bottom of a bulldozer or a tank tread, or even on the bottom of a running shoe or a sneaker, so that when he moves forward, he's able to hold on to where he's moving. You can see him move in my hand, or you can see him move on the ground. So snakes are able to get along pretty well without hands or feet. But some other animals crawl too, such as caterpillars. Caterpillars use their feet to crawl on the ground and up in trees to find leaves to eat so that they can eventually make a cocoon and then become finally an adult insect like a butterfly or a moth. Lots of caterpillars inch along. They inch along the ground or inch along a branch, which helps them move a little bit more quickly because it's important for them not to be out in the open too much or birds might fly down and eat them. So lots of animals do crawl. At the beginning of the show, you saw this animal, but could you tell some of the ways that it moves? Let's think about some of the other animals and how they move. We saw some animals that use their feet. Some can run along the ground very fast. Some can use their hands and climb in trees or use their claws to climb. We saw some animals that fly. Of course, we looked at birds, but we also saw some insects that fly and even some mammals that can fly in the air. We saw some animals that swim. They can use their tails or their flippers to help push them through the water. And we even saw some animals that have to crawl. We saw some animals that have no feet at all. This is a snail, and it is an animal that doesn't really have feet like the ones we think of. It glides along on a thin layer of water that it creates and uses its special muscle to push itself along. Snails are famous for being one of the slowest animals in the world, but though they're very slow by our standards, they move just fast enough to get the things that they eat and to survive. Snails also have a hard shell that helps protect them from things that could catch them. So the next time you come to the zoo, think about the ways that animals move and see if you can see them moving here, because now you know how animals move.